you love your dog. That part is obvious. Every single thing you do, and the hugs, the kisses on the forehead, the little outfits, the scraps from the table, the long stares into their eyes, comes from a place of genuine affection. You're not trying to cause stress. You're doing the opposite. You're trying to show love in every way you know how. And that's exactly the problem, because love, when it doesn't speak the right language, doesn't land as love. It lands as pressure, as discomfort, as something to be endured rather than enjoyed. And your dog, because they love you back, will endure most of it. They'll tolerate the hug, accept the face kiss, sit still while you adjust the sweater. Because that's what they do. They adapt to you. They work to stay in your good graces. They hold on. But tolerating something is not the same as enjoying it. And over time, a life full of things to be tolerated, with no way to say, that's too much, please stop, builds into anxiety, withdrawal, or, in dogs who feel they've run out of other options, reactive behavior. Understanding which things your dog actually hates and why is one of the most practical things you can do for the relationship. Not because you have to eliminate all imperfect gestures, but because knowing the difference between love your dog receives well and love your dog just endures lets you shift your approach in ways that will genuinely change how your dog feels about being near you. 1. Hugging them. This is the hardest one to hear because hugging feels so fundamentally like love. And for humans, it is. We hug to say, you matter to me. We hug to comfort, to celebrate, to connect. The physical embrace is one of our most instinctive expressions of care. But here's the reality. Dogs do not hug each other. In the entire repertoire of natural canine communication, there is no behavior that mirrors what a hug means to us. There is no moment in wild or domestic dog social behavior where one dog wraps their limbs around another as a gesture of warmth and connection. What there is in dog social dynamics is a behavior that looks superficially similar to hugging, one dog placing a leg or their body weight over another dog. And that behavior typically communicates something entirely different. It's about control, about asserting position, about establishing who is in charge of this particular interaction. So, when you wrap your arms around your dog and squeeze them close, what they're experiencing has no positive equivalent in their social world. The best case is that they've learned through long exposure to you specifically that this particular kind of pressure from this particular human has never led to anything bad. And so they've come to tolerate it, or even to associate it with your presence and your smell in a way that is ultimately okay. But watch more carefully next time. When you hug your dog, look for a body that goes stiff or still, a head that turns to the side, ears that pin back, a mouth that closes, eyes that widen slightly or look away, a low whale eye, the whites showing at the edge. These are stress signals. These are a dog saying, in the quietest possible way, I'd rather you didn't. If your dog squirms out of hugs, they're being extremely clear. If they stay still, that's not necessarily acceptance, it might be helplessness. The dog who freezes during a hug has often learned that squirming makes the hug last longer. The good news is that you can still show physical affection in ways that your dog genuinely enjoys. Scratching the chest or the base of the ears, gentle pressure with an open palm on their back, letting them climb into your lap and resting your hand lightly on them. All of these are touches that most dogs actively seek out and enjoy because they don't restrict movement and they're initiated on the dog's terms. Let the hug be for humans. Show your dog love in a language they can actually receive. 2. Kissing them on the face or head. Closely related to hugging, face contact is another area where human instinct and dog comfort are almost perfectly misaligned. Leaning close to a dog's face and pressing your lips to their head or nose requires you to enter their personal space from above, from the front, with your face moving toward theirs. In dog communication, this combination of elements, direct approach, close proximity, looming from above, overlaps significantly with behaviors that read as confrontational or threatening. Not always, not with every dog, but often enough and consistently enough that the majority of bites to human faces happen during moments of face-to-face contact. These are almost never bites from aggressive dogs. They are bites from dogs who communicated their discomfort clearly and were not listened to. Your dog may love you deeply and still find your face descending toward theirs stressful. They may respond with a lick, which most people read as they love kisses. But that lick may be an appeasement behavior, a soft attempt to deflect or redirect, rather than an expression of joy. What does a dog who is genuinely comfortable with this look like? They lean in. Their muscles stay soft. Their expression stays open. They may close their eyes briefly. They don't tighten, pull back, or look away. If your dog does any of the latter, take it as information. Not as rejection, but as information. Love them with your hands and your voice. Let them come to your face rather than bringing your face to them. When they choose to sniff you, to rest their chin on your shoulder, to rest their nose near your cheek, that's them saying yes. That matters far more than you saying yes for them. 3. Staring directly into their eyes. There's a beautiful piece of research on this. Studies showing that when owners and their dogs engage in mutual gaze, both species show elevated levels of oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Soft, mutual, voluntary eye contact is genuinely part of the bond between humans and dogs. The operative word is voluntary. When you hold your dog's face between your hands and lock eyes with them, staring deeply because you're overwhelmed with love, that's not the same thing as two beings choosing to make eye contact across a room. You've eliminated their ability to look away. You've forced proximity and gaze simultaneously. And in dog social language, a hard, unbroken stare from close range is a very different signal from a soft, mutual glance from a comfortable distance. Some dogs have been with their owners long enough and the relationship is secure enough that they interpret this correctly. This is my person doing a strange human thing. It's fine. But many dogs will respond with obvious signals of discomfort. Looking away, yawning, licking their lips, trying to turn their head. These are not rude, they're polite. They're the dog trying to say, I'm not challenging you, please ease up. If you want to build real eye contact with your dog, let it emerge naturally. Call their name softly from across the room. When they look at you, let your expression be warm and your gaze soft. Hold for a few seconds and look away first. That is the kind of gaze that builds connection. The held face stare is just pressure with affection attached. 4. Dressing them up in costumes or clothes they don't need. Clothing on dogs exists on a spectrum, and it's worth being honest about where on that spectrum your motivations land. There are real, practical reasons to put clothing on a dog. A short-coated dog in genuinely cold weather. A post-surgical garment that protects a wound. A well-fitted coat that a dog has been slowly conditioned to accept. These are different from the Halloween costume that went on for 30 minutes while you laughed and took photos, or the full holiday outfit that the dog spent the entire party trying to shake off. Dogs generally find clothing uncomfortable not because it hurts, but because it restricts their movement and proprioceptive sense in ways that feel disorienting. They can't move the way they expect to. Their limbs feel different. Their range of social signals, ears, tail, full body posture, is partially blocked. They're being perceived differently by other dogs who might encounter them. For a species that communicates through posture and movement, having that communication impaired is not a small inconvenience. Watch your dog when you put clothes on them. A dog who genuinely doesn't mind will move relatively normally after a moment of adjustment. A dog who is uncomfortable will freeze, refuse to walk, shake repeatedly, paw at the garment, or show a stiffened posture throughout. If your dog does any of these things, the outfit is not being enjoyed. The photo is costing them something. You can still celebrate your dog. You can put the costume next to them for the photo. Most dogs are happy to exist near a thing they don't have to wear. Subscribe if this is making you see your dog's tolerance in a new way, because the next few things are where most owners are surprised by how much their dogs are silently putting up with. 5. Sharing human food that's harmful, or teaching them to beg. The instinct to share food with someone you love is deeply human. You're eating something that smells wonderful. Your dog is right there looking at you with those eyes, and giving them a little bit feels like a gesture of generosity and connection. But there are two separate problems embedded in this habit that most owners don't fully think through. The first is the food itself. Not all human food is dangerous for dogs, but the meals and snacks most commonly shared off the plate, fatty meats, cheese, salty crackers, processed foods, onions, grapes, chocolate in any form, range from unhealthy to genuinely toxic. Pancreatitis, one of the most painful and potentially life-threatening conditions in dogs, is frequently triggered by a single high-fat meal that came from someone's dinner plate. The fact that it didn't cause visible harm last time doesn't mean it isn't accumulating damage. Obesity in dogs is overwhelmingly linked to human food supplementation and table scraps. The kindness of the gesture does not cancel out the biology of the consequence. The second problem is behavioral. Every time your dog stares at you during a meal and you eventually give them something, you have taught them one thing with extraordinary clarity. Staring at you during meals works. They will now stare harder, more intensely, and for longer. They may begin to whine. They may begin to paw at you. They may escalate in whatever direction gets results. You haven't created a grateful dog. You've created a dog who has learned to manage you because you unintentionally showed them how. If you want to treat your dog, do it intentionally. Appropriate treats at appropriate times for appropriate reasons. Feed them from their bowl, not from yours. And when you're eating, practice a quiet, go to your place, and reward them for being calm away from the table. That version of generosity actually gives them something useful. 6. Forcing them into social situations they're not ready for. This one comes entirely from love. You want your dog to be happy, social, confident, liked by everyone. You want them to be the dog at the party who works the room. You want them to play freely at the dog park. You want strangers to be able to pet them, and you want them to enjoy it. So when they hesitate, when they hold back, when they hide behind your legs or refuse to approach another dog, you give them a little push. You carry them forward. You tell them, "It's fine, go say hi." You let the stranger reach out even though the dog is clearly leaning back. Because they need to learn. Because they need to get used to it. The problem is that exposure without control is not the same as confidence building. When a dog is flooded with a stimulus they're not ready for. An overwhelming dog park, a boisterous child, a group of strangers all reaching simultaneously. Their nervous system doesn't say, "Oh, I was wrong, this is fine." It says, "This was exactly as bad as I feared, and my instinct to avoid was correct." The result is a dog who becomes more avoidant, not less. And the deeper damage is to the relationship with you. When your dog communicates discomfort and you don't respond, when you fail to be the person who steps in and says, "That's enough for today," they learn that you will not protect them. They learn that their signals don't reach you. They learn that when things are too much, they're on their own. Read your dog's body language. When they're stiff, panting heavily, licking their lips, yawning repeatedly, trying to move behind you or move away, that's a dog saying, "I need to stop." And stopping is not giving up on socialization. It's what allows socialization to actually work. End the encounter before it becomes overwhelming. Leave the park when they're still okay. Advocate for them with strangers who want to reach out uninvited. A dog who trusts that you will protect them is a dog who can start to take small risks toward new things, because they know the exit is always available. 7. Waking them up abruptly or interrupting their sleep. This is one of the quietest items on the list, but it's worth including because it happens dozens of times a week in many households. Dogs sleep a lot, depending on age and breed, anywhere from 12 to 18 hours a day. During that sleep, they move through sleep cycles much like we do, including phases of deep sleep and REM sleep, where they twitch, vocalize, and process the day's experiences. Sleep is not idle time for a dog. It is neurologically active, physically restorative, and behaviorally necessary. When you shake your dog awake because they're in the way, or you pick them up from deep sleep to show them to a visitor, or you repeatedly disturb their rest because it's funny to watch them startle, you are pulling them out of something their body and brain genuinely need. Startling a dog from deep sleep also carries a specific risk. Dogs who are woken suddenly and disoriented will sometimes react reflexively, growling or snapping, before they've fully processed that it's you. This is not aggression. It's a defensive startle response, and it's one of the more preventable sources of accidental bites. If your dog is asleep and you need to wake them, a calm voice from a small distance is the right approach. Let the sound bring them up gently before any physical contact. And if they're asleep in the middle of the floor and you need to pass, it is genuinely worth stepping around them. Their rest is not less important than your convenience. The larger point behind all of this: none of these items mean you're a bad owner. Every single one of them comes from the same place: love. A desire to be close, to share, to include, to make your dog part of every good moment. The adjustment isn't to love less, it's to love in a direction your dog can actually feel. Less restraint and more invitation. Less imposing and more waiting. Less speaking in your language and more learning theirs. When you stop doing the things your dog has been quietly tolerating and replace them with the kinds of contact and communication they actually enjoy, something shifts in the relationship. The dog who used to endure becomes the dog who seeks you out. The one who tolerated hugs becomes the one who chooses to come and lean against you. Because now the leaning is on their terms, and they know that when they arrive, you won't make them stay. That is a different kind of relationship than most people ever build with their dog. And it's available to anyone willing to listen to what their dog has been trying to say all along. Subscribe if you want to keep understanding what your dog is really communicating. Most of the time, they've been saying it clearly. We just haven't been trained to hear it.